There we have it. There we have it. Matty Cash, John McGinn, Gabby Abonglahor, all of them, rotters. Down the pan, 4-0. 4-0, Tottenham Hotspur, the victors at Villa Park. As I said in the preview pod, available on Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpod. One of the cathedrals of English football. Seen some glory down the years. And now they are reduced to mere mud. Mud on our shoes. That was nice, wasn't it? It was nice to have one of those kind of putting somebody in their place type performances. I'm not going to lie. The build up to this was all getting a bit Newcastle. Newcastle, was it last season? Have I blocked that out of my memory so quickly? Yeah. Newcastle last season, Stellini. All the narrative was kind of building up to that a bit, wasn't it? But that's not the way it went. That's not the way it went because Aston Villa in there, in the words of John McGinn, biggest game of their season, decided to park the bus. Aston Villa decided to try and... Unai Emery thought one way to get a Tottenham Hotspur would be to try and knock the ball over the top for Ollie Watkins behind Pedro Porro, Mickey van der Ven. Not going to happen, is it, mate? Not going to happen. I mean, annoyingly, Mickey van der Ven did pick up another hamstring injury, didn't he? Which remains to be seen how long he'll be out for there, but... Radu Dragusin. What a performance that was. Coming in, clean sheet, looked absolutely imperious at the back. All of it was unbelievable. And this is basically the part of the pod where I'm going to say, Pape Matar Sarr, and maybe just keep saying Pape Matar Sarr over and over and over again for, the next half hour or so. Just those words. I mean, I've started saying other words now, haven't I? Instead of just Pape Matar Sarr, but you get the point, don't you? I don't really think I'm making much of a point other than that lad's pretty dynamite. And, it's the most important midfielder for me. He's our most important midfielder. He's the absolute glue. He's the metronome. He keeps it all ticking. He keeps it all flowing. Everything. Breaking the lines with either his dribbling or his passing. That cross yesterday. Don't want to go on too much about him, like individually yet in the top half. I usually save that for the second half, but my word. What a performance. What a performance from the lad. What a player he is. How important he is to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, to Ange Postecoglou, the type of football he wants to play. I mean, I think Pape Matar Sarr sort of transcends even that. Oh, God, sorry. Got a bit of something asleep in my eye. My point is, I don't think he would just work in an Ange Postecoglou system. But he's absolutely brilliant and lovely and wonderful for this Ange Postecoglou system. So, long may it continue. I do appreciate it is Monday. I didn't record this after the game. I was out and about. I was off to see the like most of radio. Well, I mean, Johnny Greenwood and Tom York, as part of their Radiohead hiatus, have gone on to make some tunes under the band name The Smile. Very good. Went to watch them yesterday in Hammersmith. It's great. The fact that I've missed so few of these post-match pods should probably indicate how little I have going on, really, a lot of the time. So, this one sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it, really? Other than when I'm doing kind of windy Portuguese balcony pods and stuff like that. That was one of the highlights of yesteryear as well, wasn't it? Remember Werner's lowest form of conversation now, according to Tony Soprano. But, yeah, recorded it and then I got home from the gig and watched the Oscars. What a turnout that was as well. Oppenheimer. Lovely. Glad to see it. You love to see it. Winning Best Film, Christopher Nolan, getting Best Director, Cillian Murphy, leading performance. Do you know what I mean? Leading male performance anyway. What a guy. Very happy to see it. I would save all that for BYOB though. Bring Your Own Blockbuster podcast, film pod I do with Ben Haynes. Check it out if you've not listened to it yet. Back to Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, look, what I was going to... I'll be up front. I was not hopeful going into this game. I thought Villa were going to do us, probably. And obviously the reverse was very much the case. What I will say, so now it doesn't feel like copium, is... look, I'll say up front, I think we are probably going to finish in the top 4 now. Let's not say. We got a very tough April coming up. It's in our hands. We've put ourselves in a very good position to finish in the top 4. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't, but equally I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Let's say that. Let's sit on the fence perennially. If I had to say, gun to my head, I think we probably will. I think we probably will finish in the top 4. But had we lost to Villa, had they opened up an 8-point lead, I believe it would have been, had they won this, they still would have had a game in hand on them, but still an 8-point lead with a game in hand. Feels like it would have been pretty much done and dusted from that point anyway. Had Villa opened that up, should Villa go on to finish 4th place from here? My kind of take on all this at the moment, right? I love being in the Champions League. I love seeing Tottenham in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure all of those players want to be playing in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure that a lot of players that we will try to sign will want to be playing in the Champions League, or at least would prefer to be playing in the Champions League. The only thing I would say is, I don't think where we are right now, the trajectory we're on, what we're doing under Ange Postecoglou, I don't think right now it's critical that we make the Champions League. I don't think our progress is hampered by not finishing in the Champions League places at this point. I personally don't believe that. I think that whether we're in the Europa, even if we're probably in the Conference League, if we're in the any of them, basically, or even if we didn't finish in any European places, I think our trend will continue upwards, because it has been an upward trend. The point was made yesterday on Twitter that it's a year. It was Mother's Day last year when Antonio Conte had his big meltdown at Southampton. And that's quite mad, isn't it, really? And I know a lot of people will say, well, the points tallies and all this type of thing are pretty comparable, if not almost identical. That's kind of one of those things, isn't it? It's where, I know points tallies and stuff are the most binary of stat, but when I'm talking about data, when people use data as the sole point of proving something or trying to prove something, it's where it's instances like this where that falls down, right? Where you say, well, Conte and Postecoglou have won a similar amount of games at this point in the season, so on and so forth. Only paints half the picture. We know the reality is right now that Tottenham Hotspur are, pretty buoyant. And I know the past few weeks have not been great, but I would say that look, there are some, and it's on the internet, on Twitter and whatever, it's hard, isn't it? You don't really know how serious somebody's being. You don't know what frame of mind they're in when they're tweeting something. It just comes to their mind and they bang, put it out. I would say, though, most people really, just from having looked at Twitter and stuff, I would say probably 80% of people, to varying degrees, but 80% of Spurs fans at least, seem to be on board with what Ange Postecoglou is doing. Some are more critical than others. Some are more kind of, Ange-pilled, if you like, than others as well, right? But I think for the most part, people realise Spurs are on an upward trend. We're playing better football, and there's a greater capacity here for Spurs to do something that is more in keeping with the so-called Tottenham way, and that's what we want to. That's what we want to do, isn't it? That's what we want to see. What we like to hear is somebody like Ange Postecoglou in press conferences having a manager for the first time in a long time, probably ever really, actually, in the Premier League when you really think about it, because loved him as I did at the time. Even Pochettino was fond of a what can we do really here caveat. Ange Postecoglou is the only guy coming out and saying, 4th place? What? Nah, I'm not wired that way. I want to win the title. I want to win the Champions League. He wants to win the lot. And the fact he's got the bravery to say that as manager of Tottenham Hotspur is immense. And I think we can all get on board with that. Whether it happens or not, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. And this is the journey we're on, isn't it? But he's making the right noises, and Spurs are on an upward trend. And the way in which we're playing is, it's been inconsistent as of late. And I think many of us went in from the first half thinking, God, what's going on? Villa are containing us so easily. Why are we not creating anything? Why does the football feel so slow? Why does it feel like we're overthinking everything? And then in that second half, we were just knocking the ball, like probably playing some of the nicest football I've seen us play under Ange. Like we were playing at the start of the season. Knocking it about. Carelessly sounds, no, because that's carefree, in a carefree fashion. But even that sounds like you're sort of saying, it sounds like it's got a negative connotation. But it feels like the lads are playing with a certain sense of freedom, a sense of just optimism that will be lovely to see them hold on to and carry into this last part of the season. If we can end the season like we started it, then there's no doubt we'll be finishing in the top 4. And it will set us up, hopefully, nicely for next year, to go into next year with a bit of, renewed optimism and a shared belief and a shared purpose that we can, in fact, be a problem for anybody. Be a problem for a Liverpool who will be without Jurgen Klopp. And whether it's Xavi Alonso or whoever comes in, there will be, you would imagine, a bit of an adjustment period. There's nothing to say that Xavi Alonso comes in and replicates what he's done at Leverkusen with Liverpool. Nothing to say that at all. I mean, annoyingly, I think he probably will. But, doesn't always work that way. We know it doesn't work that way. What's to say if Manchester City win 4 in a row? If they get it over the line again this year, that this might actually be the year now when they're a bit more like, how do we go again from here? I mean, you can never tell with them. I think they're always going to be a problem as long as Pep Guardiola's there, aren't they, really? You can't overthink the Manchester City thing too much, really, because they prove time and time again that they're just wired differently. So I guess you just kind of have to accept that they're there and hope that you can just be really, really good, because that's what you have to be. That's what it will take. That's what it will take, regardless of if Liverpool drop off a bit, if City do or don't drop off a bit. You still got Arsenal there, who are going to keep spending money, who are heavily linked to that Douglas Luiz lad at Aston Villa, who looked pretty good yesterday against us, got to say. If they bring in somebody like him, spend some money on him alongside Declan Rice. Centre of midfield, you bring in an Ivan Toney or Ollie Watkins even up top. They're not going to sleep on this. Arsenal are determined to try and win one of the big ones, aren't they? They are. So they ain't going anywhere. Manchester United with Jim Ratcliffe coming in, who knows? Who knows what the future holds to them? But all that we can do is focus on Tottenham Hotspur, and that's what Ange Postecoglou seems to be doing. We're in a safe pair of hands with him, I think, in so much as our optimism, in the optimism stakes. We've won the optimism. Put that in the trophy cabinet. I think you get the point I'm making. That we just have to lose ourselves to this a bit and just know that, look, days like yesterday show that at the core of what we're doing, there's something very exciting and something very special happening at Tottenham Hotspur. Because Aston Villa, as much as I like taking the piss out of them, are no two-bob outfit. They're not. They've shown that this year. Unai Emery got it wrong yesterday. He did get it wrong. Just in my opinion. Whatever. Podcaster sat here, but you could see it from 5 minutes into the match. They were time wasting. They were sticking men behind the ball. They were trying to play long balls out. It just didn't seem to be the way to go. I was sort of saying this on Twitter, and somebody was saying, well, Wolves did it the other week against us and it worked out for them. So that's what Unai Emery's trying to replicate. But is that what you want to do at home? Because they were sitting back and you could see Villa Park was bouncing. When we went into that game, it was bouncing. And I was thinking, right, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. But Aston Villa's own negative football sucked the life out of their own fan base. Newcastle didn't do that. Newcastle at St James's Park, they went for us. They absolutely, and yeah, I appreciate, I've said at the top there, Tottenham Hotspur are a different beast to what they were last year, but still, Newcastle wanting to get one over Tottenham, wanting to, become the next club in line. Spurs are the natural club that you have to succeed, right? They are. Spurs, love it or hate it, we are outside of Liverpool, City, Arsenal. We've kind of overtaken Manchester United, really. We have done. And people will laugh at that. Man United fans, what have you won, though? Look at all the stuff we won under Alex Ferguson. Great, but I'm talking about the balance of the past decade. Yes, also I appreciate in that past decade, they've won an FA Cup, I'm pretty sure. Won a couple of League Cups. They've won a Europa League, which for any other club would be unbelievable, immeasurable success. But, we all know for Manchester United that isn't enough. And if we're talking in just Premier League stakes, if we're talking just in terms of, I guess, just a kind of sense of intangible glamour, a sense of intangible just profile, Spurs just feel like the bigger club for the share of it for the past years. And I know Manchester United are one of the biggest sporting institutions on the face of the planet, so this might be just total nonsense, but it feels like at least the momentum is more with Tottenham. And so if you want to start breaking into this kind of cartel of teams, as everybody calls us, as Everton have been calling us, and I think even Villa and other things like that when they've been doing their protests, you want to break into that cartel, it seems only natural that, the first team you would jump in ahead of, especially for the top four, is Tottenham Hotspur. And I think that's why we often become this kind of photo on the dartboard for a lot of these teams, for your Leicesters, for your Newcastles, for even your Evertons at times, even for your Villas, right? Brighton, another one as well, who have kind of been a bit weird with us the past couple of years. We're the sort of the first name. We must be the first sort of leg of the journey for getting to what we've done for the past few years. A lot of teams are jealous of us. A lot of teams are jealous of us because they see us as one of their peers. Hainsey was talking to me once. I'd mentioned BYOB at the top. We were talking about, I can't remember which film it was we were talking about, but he was talking about the philosophy of like envy, of jealousy and all this type of thing. And he was saying that in reality, you don't often, as human beings, you don't get jealous of, you don't look at the Oscars. Let's look at the Oscars last night. You don't look at the Oscars and look at Ryan Gosling or Emma Stone or Christopher Nolan or Steven Spielberg, right? You don't look at them and get jealous of them, of the superstars, of the superheroes. What you tend to get jealous of is your neighbour, the person who is similar to you. Your neighbour when they do something that's a bit better than you, or they get something that's a bit better than you. When you see somebody who is comparable to you somehow doing it a bit better than you are, that's when envy, that's when it stings. That's when it gets you. That's when jealousy creeps in. It's not worth getting jealous of Elon Musk or, what's his name, Bezos or somebody like that, right? Because they are almost like fictional figures. They just exist somewhere else in some sort of, capitalist wet dream, whatever. Billionaires with money, richer than fucking half the world combined, right? But you don't really get jealous about that. There's different emotions that come with that, with those type of things. And that's sort of what it's like with Manchester City, right? Can't imagine Brighton are going to be sat there getting jealous about Manchester City winning another, meaningless to most people other than their own fans, treble, right? It just doesn't work like that. Whereas Tottenham Hotspur, a team who have been ridiculed, taken the piss out of by the majority of the footballing establishment, most other fan bases, you stick the darts on, you stick on, one of the one-day international cricket games, you'll hear things like Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, ringing around. I mean, that trend seems to have died out a bit for the past couple of years, but still, there was a little period there where you hear all that type of thing. Yet still, we say to dare is to do, and we go and do it. We back it up. As much as people want to mug us off, been to a Champions League final, we've been in title races, we still continue to bobble in and around, football cliches, the top four. We do it consistently as well. It's not just a flash in the pan. And so all these sort of teams around us, your Newcastles, your Villas, your Evertons, they're always going to look at Spurs and think, how do they do it? What is it they've got that we don't? Other than London, yeah, okay, there is that pull of London, but still, we've won stuff. Everton dominated in the 80s. Villa did all right. Villa won a Champions League in the 80s. I think they maybe even won an FA Cup, I want to say. All these clubs have had their time. They've all had, good time. But Newcastle haven't won anything since the 50s, lest we forget. So don't let their muggers off. And they try it. They try it every now and again. It got me as well. It rattled me. That that lad, the big memes lad, via Johnny Gabriel, big Newcastle fan. He did something the other day. He said it was when I think it was when Bayern had signed Eric Dyer, and then they were being linked with Kieran Trippier as well. And he said he did some tweet like, "It's so hilarious to me that Bayern Munich, in their pursuit to win trophies, are signing former Tottenham players." And I just responded with a snapshot. I don't know why I'm talking to you about some Twitter exchange, but it's just, it rattled me. I responded with like a little snapshot from an article that was saying, on this day, remembering when Newcastle won their last trophy in 1954, I want to say it was, FA Cup in 1954. And then he got all rattled by that, being like, yeah, it's correct. Newcastle have won as many trophies as Tottenham did in the past decade, or some shit. I don't know. But I knew I had him. It was one of those where it's like, I knew I had him. I knew I got to him. So that was enough for me. But all of these clubs around us that want to take the piss, that want to act like they are City or Chelsea or Arsenal fans, that can do the whole, wow, what a trophy for Spurs thing. We won fucking more than most of you lot. I mean, I literally don't think we have won more than Everton or Villa, to be fair. I think they've both won quite a bit more than us, actually. But, whatever. We've still won a fair share. I think the eighth most successful team in British football history, I want to say. Yeah, let's go with that. Look, it was a good result yesterday. And if we finish in the top four, grand. Let's have that big star ball in the centre circle of the pitch. Champions League music booming around. I actually don't hate the new system. Now that I've seen it all spelled out, like the UEFA did these little explainer videos. I mean, the competition is going to be the same across Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League. It does kind of make sense that they would move to this, I think it's called the Swiss style format, given that they all are called leagues, right? Champions League, and they haven't been a league really ever. So it kind of makes sense. And I think, I know there's been some concerns about the amount of games and stuff that have been played, and that's all very relevant and that's all very fair enough. But, that's what football's like now, isn't it? Football is, jam-packed for the players, and I think that's a separate issue. On the pure get it in my veins, get it in my dopamine receptors level, I don't mind the idea of this new Champions League. And look, if Spurs are in that, great. I love seeing Spurs in the Champions League, but I love seeing Spurs in Europe. And I almost kind of think at this point in our journey, having a little bit less pressure on us, playing in the Europa League, which actually, if you look at the latter stages of now, it's not a piece of piss by any stretch of the imagination. It's pretty mad, quite how competitive it is. and the quality of the teams in there. So I don't think it's something we just rock up and win the Europa League. But look, there's less scrutiny upon it. There's less expectation, and there is every chance that you can just kind of be a bit more laissez-faire with it, right? You can play a few more youngsters in it, and it maybe doesn't derail the league campaign as much as something like the Champions League would, which is where you have to take your A game to every game. You have to. You have to. You have to play. You have to give it your best. You have to give it your all in the Champions League. It's just, even if it's just on a purely psychological level for the players do just step up when it's the Champions League. And maybe that's why we don't win things like the Europa League, because our players feel they're above it and our club has ideas that we are above it. I don't know. That's a completely different debate. But there's a part of me that, I would love being in Champions League. I'm just going to say, I'll sort of take this back, loop this back to the top. I wouldn't be absolutely desolate were we not in the Champions League. Okay? But if we get there, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And results like yesterday get us, very close to that. But let's just not forget, our April is pretty grim. Pretty grim. Should we do the players? Let's do the players. So, let's just find starting lineups. There we go. Guillermo Vicario. Didn't have an awful lot to do, but when he was called into action, made a couple of good saves. Distribution, again, on point. He's a great calming presence at the back. There was one moment, I think it wasn't on a corner, it was when they got a free kick outside the box. And I want to say it was Douglas Luiz was trying to do the whole let's shithouse Vicario thing. And Vicario just grabbed him by the shoulders and moved him to the side. And I guess that's just really ultimately probably what either he's landed on or Ange has just told him to do. They're going to keep pushing you, mate. Push them back. Just do it. It'd be interesting to see that kind of thing go to VAR. I still sort of feel like they would side with the attacker soon as the players put his hands on him, but whatever, he handled it well yesterday. And yeah, he didn't have a lot to do because Aston Villa didn't do enough. Pedro Porro, much better performance from him yesterday. Doesn't surprise me that in a resounding Tottenham Hotspur victory, we've got Pedro Porro looking better again, looking more like himself. I guess this will bleed into the Christian Romero discussion. A lot of people were talking about Christian Romero being utterly exceptional yesterday. Second half, maybe. I thought the first half he looked a bit of a liability. And I think Pedro Porro got him out of trouble, especially with Watkins, on a few different occasions in that first half. So that's kind of a positive for Pedro Porro. I'll move on to Christian Romero, who, like I say, I think maybe had a bit of a wobbly first half, but did end the second half imperiously. There was a lot of talk before the game. Is he going to take out Matty Cash? Is he going to break his legs? And I sort of fell into that trap, that toxic, nasty trap of thinking, go on, my son, have him. But I think we can all say, now the dust has settled, it's much nicer to be sitting here with a 4-0 victory. Again, I think Romero not even committing a foul. No yellow cards. Clean sheet. Matty Cash dropping an absolute disaster class yesterday. Versus Spurs losing 2-0 and Christian Romero having a red card and missing 3 games. Right? And it's easy to say that because now the emotional side of that has all gone. But going into the game, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't want to see Christian Romero flatten him. So is what it is. But yeah, I think a good performance all in, and definitely second half stepped up with Dragusin next to him, helping out a young defender who himself did a bit of a Romero, didn't he? But actually, I think it was quite a good foul. Took the yellow card well, Dragusin, but talk about him in a minute. Mickey van der Ven, I was about to say Matty van der Ven then. Mickey van der Ven, absolutely horse-like, unbelievable, had Watkins in his pocket. disgusting that he's gone down with another hamstring injury. Who knows how long that's going to be for? Probably a while. He knew exactly what was going on the second he went down. He looked pretty, desolate, pretty frustrated, as were we all. Because it's not nice to sort of face anybody without Mickey van der Ven, let alone our fixtures that we're going to be, coming up against in the next few weeks. But, dare I say it, do we want to beat Liverpool and City? I don't know. I'm just saying, all right? Just saying. Destiny a doggy. My word. There he is. What a performance. Probably, yeah, I'm going to say it. I think Spurs is man of the match. Yesterday. Unbelievable performance from the lad. All over the shop, in a good way. All over the pitch. Covered every single blade of grass. Was absolutely on point defensively. Going forwards gave us that drive again, that thrust. Starting our attacks. Coming centrally. Always just been, inexplicably, been almost in like a number 10 role for loads of the second half. Spraying the ball about. Making himself available for passes. Giving Aston Villa absolutely no joy whatsoever. None whatsoever. Absolutely had the measure of Matty Cash. And as we saw later on in the game, was so frustrating for them that John McGinn ended up absolutely slicing him, taking him out. No bias in this. Absolutely no question it's a red card. I can't believe people are even trying to argue this one. No attempt to play the ball. John McGinn's been absolute whopper. He's gotten frustrated and he's gone and just scythed him down. It's clear as day, red card. It's a dangerous tackle. Like, you can see it's dangerous because Destiny a doggy has, whatever it's done, the pain of it has numbed his leg or something because he's got up to go for him and then crumpled down into a heap on the floor, which I don't think was theatrics. I think it looked, when you actually watch, you know when one of your players has been theatrical or not, and I'll dig them out on here when they do that. But Destiny a doggy, he was, I think he was actually, hurt in that. So, fuck him, unbelievable performance. Great player. Tottenham's man of the match, I think. And just what a player. 15 mil, something like that. Unbelievable. Yves Bissouma, I think he was decent yesterday. I think he was better than he was in the sort of previous couple of games he's played. Let's hope that he's getting back up into the sort of swing of things. What I will say is I dug him out because it annoyed me in that first half. He almost gifted them a goal, and I have no idea what he was doing. He sort of passed the ball back just to a Villa attacker, basically, under no pressure whatsoever. And we did that a few times in the first half, actually. We kept kind of creating trouble for ourselves, really, which was a bit of an annoying habit, but we snapped out of it, I guess, come the second half. But, yeah, onwards and upwards, hopefully, for Yves. Pape Matar, what a player. What a pass. He's just a player of his ability. Him and the doggy, players of their ability, of their age, it's just unbelievable. Sarr is so good. And I hope this is just the very beginning for him. I hope he goes on from here and just goes on to be an absolute worldy Premier League star player, because I think he's got all the tools to do that. He's just an unbelievable player. And the thing is, the thing that I always said, I'm pretty sure early on in the pod, even like last year when he first started playing, is prior to sort of him being as amazing as he's become, I just enjoyed watching him play football, and that hasn't changed. I enjoy watching him play. He glides about. He looks like he's having fun. He looks so in control of everything that he's doing. Love the way he moves on the ball. Love the way he kind of shields the ball. Manages to retain possession. Always, never hides, takes risks. Makes himself available. Makes himself ready for the pass. Will have shots from all over the place. Will try those eye of the needle through balls. he's a special talent, man. He's a special player. Get him on a longer contract. Give him a bigger contract. Give him more money. Give him everything. I love him. Unbelievable. Dejan Kulusevski. What I want to say about him, right? What I want to say about Decky is I thought in the first half, right, Maddison looked like he was struggling again a bit. And it feels a bit harsh for Kulusevski because he was playing well in the centre of the park when Maddison was out. And now he's been shoved out wide and it looks like he's kind of struggling again a little bit. Just a little bit. And so I kind of feel for him. And I get that his form does frustrate people. Second half he was brilliant. And I get that his form does frustrate people. But what I will say that he does, and he did this a couple of times, especially in the second half, and he does it all the time really. He is one of those players that can carry the ball like probably nobody else down the wing. He might not be the quickest, but I don't think he's the slowest. I think I've said before, he kind of reminds me of Harry Kane in so much as they look slow, but they're not actually really slow. They're not actually slow players. They're just not lightning fast, but they actually do have beguiling amounts of pace. What Kulusevski does is he's so strong on the ball that when we're on the counter, you see him just maraud up the half. And even if one of their fullbacks or one of their kind of midfielders is on him, trying to rob the ball off him, he just manages to hold them off and just keep carrying the ball up the pitch, getting the ball out of danger for us, and then in turn, transitioning it into an immediately dangerous situation for the opposition. He's unbelievable at doing that. And I do think it is, again, one of those things that probably goes under the radar a bit. Oh, look at me. I can notice all the things that you, the mere non-podcaster, can't. You know what I'm saying. I think it goes under the radar a little bit, quite how important he is for the team, because he's not maybe doing enough at the business end compared to what we've seen him do in the past, right? But for me, on balance, there's more than enough good to Kulusevski and to what he does in every single game to continue selecting him. I would say, however, there is a part of me that would like to see a Sonny, Johnson, Werner, Maddison attack for a game. I would quite like to see that. That's all I'm saying. But Kulusevski, love him. James Maddison, I think he struggled for periods in this game. Came into his own in the second half. Lovely goal. I didn't actually realise, when it actually first went in, I didn't realise he'd actually finished it. I thought it was an own goal. I thought he'd obviously made a problem, gotten in the right position, made himself a nuisance, and it had led to a Villa player putting it in the back of his own net. But it's only obviously in the slow motion replay that I realised that Maddison's actually put it home, put it away. And he shared an old tweet that he did, because he was getting dogs abuse all day as well from the Villa fans. And he was saying it's lovely as a former Coventry boy to come and score at Villa Park, especially when you're doing it for Leicester as well. And he literally quote tweeted it saying retweet with like a big sort of smug face on it. It was good. I loved how he did all the celebration, and then when it all died down a bit, then went and did his darts as well. He wasn't going to forget about doing that. Speaking of which, the PDC, if you are interested in the arrows at all, they did a... who did they bring down? They brought Michael Smith and... it might have been Aspinall. I think it was Aspinall and Michael Smith. They brought down to White Hart Lane. And they played against Maddison and Van der Ven. It's quite good. It's whatever. It's just YouTube content, but I thought it was quite good. To give it a watch. But yep, the overall good performance from Maddison, and there's no question whatsoever. Don't get it the wrong way when I'm saying stuff about Maddison or being sort of somewhat critical of him. There's no part of me that thinks we're a better team without James Maddison, a fit and firing and fully functioning James Maddison in there, right? We've just got to get him back to his best, and I'm pretty sure that's what Ange's MO is. That seems to be what Ange's thing is right now, is playing players through whatever sort of slump they're in, whatever type of form that they're in or not in. And fine, do you know what I mean? Whatever. Let Postecoglou do that. But Maddison is, we know what a special player he is, what a special player he can be. Brennan Johnson, good performance. Very good performance. There's a lot of, I can't exactly remember what it is, but there's a lot going around of his stats so far this season of how many goals and assists, goal involvements he's on. I want to say it's about 9 or 10, I think, which for his first season, taking a sort of step up. Sorry, Nottingham Forest, but let's be honest, taking a step up to Tottenham is good. I think the lad's good. And as I sort of continue to say, the thing about him is he's been ahead of schedule this season, right? He's been asked to do more than he probably was anticipating and that Ange Postecoglou was anticipating having to give him because of our injuries and such, right? He's a very good player. He's a very good player, and I'm excited about what he can do in the future. It was sad to see him say in his post-match interview, he said something to the effect of that was for all the fans who have continued to have my back, or it was something like that, which again just serves as that reminder that the players aren't immune to the sort of filth that people push through their online letterboxes, So give them a break. Shut up. Shut the fuck up, basically. Doesn't mean, and again, I say this every fucking week, but doesn't mean don't criticise them or anything like that. I'm just saying, don't send them the fucking abuse that people do. You see it all along. You see it, whatever. Fine. I don't want to reduce. There's a trend, I think, I'm guilty of it, but with many podcasts where we focus on the bad things that people are saying. These fans keep doing this. These type of fans moan about this. Those type of fans are complaining about that. Fine. But, let's stop going on about it. Let's stop giving it oxygen. Let's talk about all the actual fans that are rooting for Brennan Johnson and have been all along as well. And I'll jump into his defence when he is getting abuse and all that type of thing. So, and he obviously recognises that as well. So, good. Good performance. I was surprised to see him start. I thought Timo was going to start, to be honest. But he didn't. And there you go. Heung-min Son, what a finish. Lovely goal. He's now up there. I think our fifth highest goal scorer. For time, it's not with Chivers, is it? Is it Peters? I think he's up alongside Tottenham. Highest goal scorers. No, it's Cliff Jones. Yeah, he equaled Cliff Jones. So yeah, whose name is Harry Kane? Basically, absolute legend. Love him. Keep him as long as we can. Unbelievable player. Pierre Højbjerg, I'll be honest, I can't really remember much that he did when he came on. So there we go. But we won 4-0. So nice one, Pierre. Rodrigo Bentancur came on, chopped down Matty Cash, got a big cheer from the away fans. Did all right when he came on. So nice. Again, we won 4-0. Nicely done. Timo Werner came on and scored a goal again, and it was a good goal. And if Timo Werner can keep doing this, if Timo Werner can keep scoring goals, if he can keep capitalising on these good opportunities, getting himself into the right position, we have a player on our hands. Folks. Like, he is... I think it's a steal. I don't even think it's a debate. 15 million. 15 million for Timo Werner is a steal. And I don't think you should convince yourself otherwise. So much is made of his goals or lack thereof or whatever, the sort of comedic fashion in which he would miss a lot of opportunities at Chelsea. But as is often pointed out, still in a stats, case, and I know I'm probably going against what I was saying at the start of stats, only telling you half the story, but still, eye test equally probably only tells you half of the story, maybe 2/3 of the story. But he still was always one of Chelsea's most consistent performers. He's a Champions League winner, He's still young. He's quick. His close control is unbelievable. I think he's slotted in pretty seamlessly at Spurs. I think he's a top player. And 15 mil is absolutely peanuts. It's nothing. It's nothing. Pretty sure we paid more for Nkudu. Pretty sure we paid even more for NG. So, come on. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. I think we'll keep him. I think we'll keep him. He feels like he's one of the lads already as well, doesn't he, right? But there we have it. 4-0. Tottenham Hotspur 4, Aston Villa 0. Fuck you, Aston Villa. I think we've got an international break now, don't we? Which is kind of annoying. Tottenham Hotspur fixtures. And if you're still listening to this and you're the person that left me an Apple review saying often has to Google stuff, is not well prepared, fuck off. All right? Fuck off. It's all part of the charm of this. I'm not here with printed out notes for your leisure. All right? Record this off the cuff. All right? It's like a sort of piece of footballing performance jazz freestyle. No, we got Fulham next week. Saturday the 16th, Fulham away. They've been all right lately, although they did get done on the weekend. So there you go. And then we're back. Then there's the international break. Then we're back on the 30th of March for Luton. And then begins our April. Just a quick refresher for anybody that doesn't know about April. West Ham away. Nottingham Forest at home. Newcastle away. Manchester City at home. Arsenal at home. Liverpool away. Well, Liverpool's in 4th of May, actually. So there you go. That's not part of April, is it? 27th of April, though, that is the game. That's the big one. That's the do not lose. At all costs, do not lose. At all costs. Vile. Vile City Liverpool as well. Absolutely vile that they got that draw. I don't know. Whatever. It's not an Arsenal pod. Let's not talk about them. Let's not end on that note. Tottenham Hotspur 4, Aston Villa 0, and the Spurs go marching on. Thank you everybody for tuning in, whatever, watching it, listening to it. Is on YouTube. I usually do a live after the game, but when I can't, I record them. So check it out on YouTube. Tetrunk. I think I've got TV at the end of it. I made that account like probably nearly 20 years ago now, which is quite depressing. When I used to do all my animations and stuff. So you watch them on there. Yeah. Thanks. Please leave ratings, leave reviews. I know I've just dug out whoever said the thing about my pod being not prepared. But yeah, if you can, leave any ratings, leave any reviews. That would be massively appreciated. Thank you very much. Share the pod, all that type of thing. patreon.com/RTRpods. Loads of stuff on there. So sign up if you want to. Please do. And I'm collecting a nice few stories, actually. I did do a little call out the other week that I maybe want to do a few like different types of pods where I talk to people about Spurs, anything to do with Spurs, but not in the way of like what's going on right now. Do you like Højbjerg? I don't. What I mean is, if you have an interesting story, right, that is in any way, even if it's tenuously linked to Spurs. So, for example, every day you took your Spurs mug into the office and you drank with your Spurs mug, and somebody else said, you're a Spurs fan. And this led to a conversation or something which then went on to you founding an international drug smuggling ring with said person or something like that, then please share the story. It'd be quite interesting. Anything at all. When I was once on my way to Spurs, there was a detour and such. This adventure ensued from that point. Send me an email to trunk@gmail.com. If you'd be happy coming and talking about said story or anything like that, get in touch. Could be quite interesting. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. See what we can get from it. But yeah, other than that, much love. Up the Spurs. Good night. Good morning. Goodbye. Good afternoon. Whatever. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you are watching this, I know I've had a haircut and I'm not very fond of it. It's far too short, so whatever. Fuck you, barber.